Hey, welcome back everybody to the TFL podcast. You're here with Rowan the Boat, TFL and Arch, TFL. Arch, how you going, mate?
Oh, good. Let me just turn this music down so we can all hear you, mate.
Oh, thanks. It's the Divisional Round of the playoffs, and we are pumped to talk a little bit of DFS today. So thank you for joining in. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe on our YouTube channel if you're watching on here. It's always good to jump on YouTube because we pull up the Draftstars web pages and talk through it. I just think it's a better experience for the viewer when you jump on board the old YouTubes. What do you think?
Especially when you see two strapping young lads just going at it. Like, just the
Who are
visual pleasures. Absolutely.
That's right. We have a Discord chat that's going off, so get in touch if you want to jump on board. Some Aussie DFS, mostly talking NFL, but we'll talk other DFS as the year goes by as well, which is always fun.
Starting to creep in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We've got other threads there. Anyway, it's great for you to join us this evening, and Arch, we've got some news for the listeners.
Oh, yes,
we do. I figure there's no point in us pushing our Patreon, considering we're going to tell everyone this interesting piece of news.
Yes.
And that is that we're finishing up. We are finishing up at the end of this season after the Super Bowl. It's been 3 fun years, Arch. It's been an experience, to say the least. Started out as our little podcast for our redraft league, and then we did matchups last year and talked kind of big season-long stuff, and then we changed to DFS this year. Look, we've just kind of rolled with whatever we felt like we wanted to do.
Yeah, and what's our interest in the moment?
That's right, and now we just feel like we're done.
Pretty much.
So it's been great, though. Like, met so many fun people.
Yes.
Had the privilege to talk and chat football with just so many from across the globe, from England, from America, here in Australia. Like, it's been fun. And, I'm glad we did it, Arch. It's been fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's been one of those, we're inching on 100 episodes. Who would have thought when we started?
Notch up the ton.
Yeah, getting involved in the Australian fantasy community, getting to know a lot of people that we wouldn't know otherwise. It's great. Highlights for me would be getting you to talk about shaving your balls. That would be probably number one for me.
I forgot about that.
Second one would be, getting drops like this on the air.
No, you don't have to call Archer Daddy.
Yes. Getting Mrs. Rowan just to get on and show her true allegiance to myself.
Thankfully, my son hasn't sounded like that for about 2 years.
What was that?
I said, thankfully, my son hasn't sounded like that for about 2 and a bit years. So, dear. It's,
What was your initial team called?
Well, my initial team,
in the TFL?
I think it was, goodness, you're pulling, I think it was Dancing Bandits.
What was it?
The Dancing Bandits. It was, Bluey. Bluey was big at the time.
Before then, what was your team name called?
Newton's Bowls.
No.
Was that the one?
Offensive something? What was it?
Oh, Offensive Spread. That's it.
And it is pretty offensive, might I add.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Your jokes are horrendous.
Took you a while to sort of set you up for that, but
yeah, it did, and I was avoiding it at all costs. Alas, we got there. Yeah, Brad Bolt, what a legend!
It's one of the
legend.
Good guys.
That's it. Check out the NFL Lab
Network.
Yeah, that's it. Check that out, everyone. It's Brad's doing a great job over there. What's going to happen with the TFL, Arch? What's going to keep happening?
The league.
We still got our
continues.
Discord.
Sorry.
We still got our Discord chat.
We do. I don't know if anyone else is having this problem, but you're definitely frozen on the screen. But luckily, your voice is still here.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah, the Discord will continue. We've had it attached to our Patreon. Obviously, we're not going to keep charging people for, for costs that don't exist now that when we stop the podcast.
Yeah.
So we'll probably open that for anyone interested in joining our little DFS community. So keeping an ear out on the eye out on the socials for a chance to, if you're interested, just give us a DM. We don't want it to just be anyone just joining. We still want it to be a fairly tight knit community, but definitely keen on growing that. So having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's been good. We did best balls. Arch, you ran some best ball leagues for the Aussie crowd last season. It went really well. You're keen to do that again next season as well. So keep an eye out on that.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, everyone, you didn't really want to hear that. I'm sure you're here to talk about the divisional.
They might have, Rowan. That is the thing. This
They might have been itching. Thank goodness the team was finishing. Why do I bother with this show?
I think maybe it's the next episode that's good.
Well, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah.
Anyway, Arch,
it's really disconcerting seeing you just a frozen screen here. So, hopefully you come back.
That's strange because on my screen I'm seeing both. And who knows what the YouTubers are seeing. So if, if you're out there watching us, let us know in the comments what's actually happening. Anyway, for the podcast listeners at home, it's irrelevant. So let's jump in. We're going into the divisional round. So get pumped, everybody. Let's do this.
Yeah! Wow! Pow! Divisional round preview. Yeah!
Alrighty, here we go. Just for the listeners at home, we are splitting this into two little podcasts because Draftstars have done a Sunday slate and a Monday slate. So for us here in Australia, of course, it's Sunday and Monday, and we're going to split this into two little pods. So listen to both, of course. Excellent to hear that from CMOS. He can see both of us. It's all you, Arch. Your computer sucks.
Look, it says that your connection's rubbish.
Well, mine says I'm very good. Anyway, so we're going to split this into two. If you're watching on YouTube, stay here for the whole thing. We'll do all 2 days at once, and then we will jump into So we'll do Sunday and then Monday. So YouTubers, don't go away. Podcast listeners, listen to both. All right, divisional round. That was a long way of explaining that. Let's jump in. We've got two fantastic games.
Made very complicated.
Why do I do this? Anyway, two big games coming up. We've got Cincinnati taking on Tennessee, and we've got San Francisco taking on Green Bay. I've got up here the Draftstars Sunday slate. We're going to go through position by position. So let's start here at the quarterbacks. We've got 4 to choose from. Aaron Rodgers, 15K. Joe Burrow, 14.7. Ryan Tannehill, 13.1. Jimmy Garoppolo, 11.4. I feel like if we're talking game scripts, if we're talking in terms of what has been working for these teams lately, it is very hard for me to go beyond Joe Burrow here at this spot.
Yeah.
He is passing up a storm.
Yes.
Last week didn't have to do too much because it was Las Vegas. Still threw for 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase still had a great game. Here's my Draftstars gripe. Okay, Arch, you've had your turn with
I love it.
having a go at Draftstars. Please, Draftstars, I want to see 3 things that matter when it comes to stats.
Yes.
That is pass attempts or completions, even just completions. That's fine.
Something.
Give me rush attempps.
Yes.
Give me targets.
Yeah.
If I could just see all of those 3 things on
Those
this,
are
like
hard to come by stats, though, Rowan.
Oh, really?
I've
So
never
hard to come. I've never heard of targets before.
I'll add another one to the mix there, Rowan, while we're on
All
it.
right, I'm listening.
How about update your bloody feed? It doesn't take 5 minutes to register a bloody touch. If Yahoo can manage to show me a touchdown before I get to watch it on my stream, maybe, just maybe, update the bloody leaderboard.
I know. Here I am hanging on my first place Rams Arizona finish, and I'm just like, come on, guys. And there it is. It's like literally 1 yard between me and second in place, and then you're just waiting. It's like, I've seen the play. What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. Yeah,
Honestly,
it's frustrating.
It's quicker for me to whip out the calculator and do some sums on the top 100 before I get to see it.
Either way, we can't really, beggars can't be choosers, unfortunately, here in Australia.
That's what they know.
Yeah. Anyway, back to it.
Now, look,
Joe Burrow.
not
Aren't you playing Joe Burrow?
Maybe. Yeah, no, definitely. I guess, obviously, the only concern is that there can be a super efficiency going on in this sort of game. Maybe Tennessee slows the game down if by some big 7-8 minute drives with if Henry's back, and it's just a bit more a slower paced game.
Yeah.
But then we're probably potentially going to see that in the afternoon's game as well, or the second game. I don't know what times they are, but that's the only. Obviously, that's what last week. If he doesn't need to do too much, he won't. But I think the way they're going to beat Tennessee is going to be through the air. So I think out of the 4 quarterbacks, you're probably thinking you're safest here.
For sure. The Cincinnati-Tennessee game's first up. I just want to throw some stats at you thanks to oneweekseason.com has collated these stats, and I appreciate them a lot in my little research here. Joe Burrow, he's the 4th highest pressure to sack ratio. What am I saying? He's first in yards per attempt, 8.9, and adjusted completion percentage of 79.4%. Pretty good.
Yeah.
He's 8th in DraftKings points per game at 20.46. Now, Tennessee are ranked 21st in DraftKings. Well, we're going DK because it's American. Points per game, same as Draftstars. Points per game allowed to QBs. So 21st in DraftKings points per game allowed to QBs. But these are the quarterbacks that Tennessee have recently faced. This is their last 8 games. Davis Mills, Tua, Jimmy G, Ben Roethlisberger, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Taysom Hill / Trevor Siemian. Hardly top-notch quarterbacks.
Yes.
And yet, within that, Davis Mills put up 30 points on them. And earlier in the season, Russell Wilson put 26, Josh Allen 33, Kyler Murray 35. Like, that's good stuff. You can pass against these guys.
Yes.
That is for sure. Really, I'm playing Joe Burrow. He's got Jamar Chase there. He's got we can talk about them in a second. But Joe Burrow is my number one. I'm going to be playing probably 7 out of 10 lineups with Joe Burrow going into this because I think this is where all the money is going to be. Ryan Tannehill on the other side is interesting. We haven't seen Ryan Tannehill come into a game with A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry for a very long time. And it's a very small sample size as well, mind you. But the question for me is, what does Henry coming back mean for Tannehill in his ability to be efficient? Because last year and the year before, we saw Tannehill being a very efficient quarterback. Touchdowns were his friend, and he was constantly in that top 10 quarterbacks of the week for past seasons. This year, not so much. But how are you reading Ryan Tannehill? This is the game that I think he'll need to be passing for sure as Joe Burrow kind of carves up the secondary.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's going to be a passing game that he has to do. Look, we've seen Julio. He's super cheap as well. Like we'll pair with Tannehill. I think that there's value to. I think out of all the slate, that this is the side where you're going to get some value and potential leverage off of a lot of Joe Burrow teams, where you're still going to get a lot of the points from some bring back. So I don't mind playing Tannehill this week. Probably in a bit of a 50-50. You said 7 out of 10 would be Bengals. I'm happy to go 50-50 here. I think in fact, I wouldn't be surprised that Tannehill does pick up a little bit of steam in the popularity stakes as well, which kind of scares you. Look, I'm happy playing a valued Tannehill coming back with a full assortment, but a chalky Tannehill makes me a little bit nervous though. So it's something that I'm keeping an eye on ownership levels around the industry, what they're projecting. Obviously, with different sites have different prices, so it is still hard to get a measure on ownership projections for Draftstars, because they are releasing prices later and sort of adjust for things a little bit later. So
yeah, it's true. Often we talk about going 2 times your price is very good. Tannehill was only going 2 times the 13, hit 26 points. Let me check. I think only twice this season. No, sorry, once this season against Houston in Week 18. So we are asking for something that hasn't quite happened yet with Tannehill this season. But of course, the inclusion of Derrick Henry probably changes that. Interesting for Cincinnati. Some notable opposing quarterback scores. Lamar Jackson only put up 23. Aaron Rodgers put up 23. Kirk Cousins 25. Justin Herbert 29. Michael White New York Jets put up 31 points on them. But what happened in those games is that, well, Lamar Jackson threw 31 times. Cousins threw 49 times. Rodgers threw 39 times. Herbert threw 35. Mike White threw 45 times. So these guys really had to pass a heck of a lot to get to that point of actually having a good fantasy day. I just don't know if Tannehill's going to do that. So that's my hesitation there.
Yep. No, fair enough.
The other game, Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. Polar opposites in terms of their pricing. $15K for Aaron Rodgers. Jimmy G's 11. Jimmy G is coming off of a sore thumb. He hurt his hand, I believe, and he's also got, I think he's been dealing with a shoulder injury as well, hasn't he? So Jimmy G's coming off of that. He's had 2 full practices, mind you, coming into this weekend. So things are looking up for Jimmy G. But again, we have to ask the question around game script and what's that going to look like for Jimmy G. We can't really expect too much of him. But, I mean, 11K at the bottom of the pile there of the quarterbacks. Is there some leverage that could be used here, Arch, or are you just going, no, I just can't be bothered. This is a run-first team, and I'm avoiding Jimmy G at all costs?
Yeah, no, look, I just can't click the button on Jimmy. I just can't do it. And you look, sure, you're saving some money. The quarterbacks aren't overly expensive either, though. And I think it's a lot flatter pricing, I think, on this 2-game slate. There's not some huge price. I guess because there's not so many cheap options, so it makes it hard to build lineups. But for me, I'll probably save some coin in running back position and go with more of a sure thing at quarterback. And when San Francisco can beat Dallas 23-17, and he scores 6 points, that doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence in what how they're going to have to beat.
Yeah.
Look, and how do you beat Green Bay's defense? Right, like
you have to run against them. They're 28th in DVOA against the run, so they're letting a decent amount of yards per carry as well. Like they're the most explosive weapons at the moment. Like George Kittle aside, because who knows really what's happening with him at the moment. But Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell are carving it up on the ground.
Yep.
Why would you turn away from that? That's the big thing. So, and that's the other thing I think as well. Often we think of Jimmy Garoppolo's got these great yards after the catch, like receivers and whatnot. But Deebo, his positive correlation with Jimmy G is fading because of how much they're using him on the ground.
Yep.
So you're not even getting that benefit of going, here's some little screen passes or short field, short A-dot passes to Deebo or whatnot, or George Kittle, because neither of them are getting those. Really, that's going to support Jimmy G as a fantasy quarterback. So I'm going to avoid here. Aaron Rodgers, he's coming up with no MVS. MVS is he's doubtful. We all know that probably means out. So no MVS, which means you've got Lazard and Adams as the main 2.
Yeah, that
doesn't really bother Aaron Rodgers too much. He can still score, but if we're looking at his recent scores, his form of 18.2, like he hasn't had a big game since the game against Chicago, which, as we all know, he owns them. But other than that, it was the Rams before that, sure. But it's been 5 weeks since we've seen Aaron Rodgers need to really put up big points. And San Francisco and Green Bay, slow. They're going to run the ball. So I don't love either of these guys too much here. But Aaron Rodgers, I guess you could say him and Adams have a big game together. But I'm going to probably pass on that, Arch. What are you thinking with Rodgers?
No, that's fine. I think we've seen that Adams doesn't need Rodgers to have a big game for Adams to have a big game.
Very true.
It's such a condensed target share, and with MVS out, like I don't mind. I'd be happy to play two Green Bay pass catchers and not necessarily have to be on the Rodgers side, on Rodgers as well, which is just madness as I say it, that, to do a double stack without the quarterback. But we've just seen that, that just can happen. And I guess when you're an efficient quarterback who doesn't get the 300-yard bonus, who doesn't score on the ground, that's just the reality. Yeah,
it is. And let's face it, in a 2-game slate like this, getting a little bit different by playing a couple of pass catchers but not the quarterback could be the thing that it separates you from other people on the field. So don't mind that.
Yep.
Moving on to running back here's the big question, and I don't really have a true read on this at all.
No.
It's Derrick Henry, and we have to talk about whether he's going to get used like he normally does with the big 25 plus touches on the ground and all that. But Deontay Foreman has been around and been serviceable for what the Tennessee Titans needed out of him. And so the question here is a guy coming off of IR. Yes, he's had a long time to rest and get healthy. Potentially could have played last week. Who knows? But they had the bye. So for me, it's very risky to actually say, I'm going to fade Derrick Henry here because he's actually only 15.5K for what he can do.
Yeah.
For what this man can do.
He can do some things.
It is crazy. So
yeah. Still has, a big chunk of metal in his foot, I think. But yeah, fade him at your peril. But yeah, the way the slate's sort of shaping up, potentially you want to spend down at running back to get better volume elsewhere. But it's going to be hard to not play the big dog. So
yeah, really hard. Anyway, everyone's going to ask their own question here. My gut is saying that I'm probably going to play Derrick Henry a decent amount, and hopefully hope he hits and hope the field gets scared.
Well, the thing that probably works against, I guess, us or other people that maybe think a little bit more about these things than we should, is that it's the first game and everyone has the same information going in. It's not the late game where you can perhaps trade in, get the edge on a bit of uncertainty. Like we've all got the same info. We're all going to know how much he's going to play or not know how much he's going to play at the same time. So it makes it a little bit tricky, but it'd be hard not to put him in some lineups, that's for sure.
Yeah. Mixon's next up at 15 pretty much. 15K. Look, Tennessee are really good against the run. Like it's not talked about much, but they've been really, really solid against the run. And so when I look at this, I'm looking at Joe Mixon with I guess a bit of nervousness and a feeling that I don't necessarily have to go to him because of some of the other plays. He's had targets though. He's been used in the passing game. 4 receptions, 7-6. Like he's getting the ball.
Yeah. He needs a touchdown.
He does. Like that's the thing that has to he has to have that to separate him. But even then at 15K, like you really want him to hit 25 points, and I'm not sure if he's going to get there. So
yeah, and it's the same dilemma as last week. Really, I had the same feeling. I was quite light on Mixon because I just saw that the floor is just not what you need. Like it's not enough to get the chocolates in a GPP. So,
which surprised me against Las Vegas, to be honest. That performance. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon have a $4,000 price separation. That's a lot.
Yeah.
What are we thinking here?
Well, it just depends on what you believe Green Bay are doing with them. If you look back at his game logs, well, Aaron Jones is like, the game got out of hand, I think in week 17 maybe, where they just didn't, like, the game was beyond doubt. And AJ Dillon was able to just then take the workload, because Aaron Jones was, coming back from injury, and then he sat out week 18. So it's real hard read on what they want their running back, I guess, splits to be.
Yeah.
But potentially, I think the chalk's going to probably head to Dillon with that discount, and you might get a bit of a leverage play by paying up for Jones, which is just is maybe where I'm feeling at the moment, and that the reason why AJ Dillon was getting all that work was that coming off of injury, making sure he's right for playoffs was the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair, and you can read that. Like, I think Jones is still probably the guy as well that you're going to see around the goal line.
Yeah.
I think there's a sense still that, okay, Aaron Jones is still our best running back. We're still going to, and in a game that means so much, you play your best players. Exactly. So I think you lean into that. AJ Dillon, though, at 9K, if you're looking for a cheap play, he's worth something.
That's right.
Yeah. Are you going to play Deontay Foreman? We'll get to Elijah Mitchell in a sec.
Yeah, it's probably just a no there.
Yeah. Elijah Mitchell is continuing to get so many touches, which I wish I could see on the Draftstars website here. either way, he's
Look, just on Deontay Foreman. Like, obviously,
sure.
monitor news and get a read on what's going on with Derrick Henry. But, at 9K, if you think he's going to get, 60, 70% of the touches, of course, then that's a different story. But
it is
probably not.
Elijah Mitchell, though, I think is a very solid player. I think he'll be played all over the shop, though. Like, everyone's playing Elijah Mitchell at 12.7K. He's every shot at the 3-point rushing yard bonus. He's every shot at a touchdown. And he's every shot at 3 receptions if they really need him in that space. So Elijah Mitchell is a smash play. I think you don't play him at your own risk. I think that's how we should put that. Moving on to wide receivers, Devonte Adams is at the top at 18.5K. That's a lot of money, but he can score you a lot of points. I don't really know how much I'll have of Adams at the moment, but I'm leaning towards slightly less, I think.
Yep.
Just because of the game and the way this game might go. Because I think this game could be could hit under 40 points.
Yes.
It could be a real tight arm wrestle. So if that's the case, then you don't want Adams in your team. However, you can't fade him entirely, can you?
No, but to win a GPP, you have to make these sort of calls and hit it. So if you feel that the game's not going to be as what's the over under 47.5 at the moment. You don't feel it's going to hit that, then you can make that stand. But like you said, it doesn't. He just needs to be just the guy that keeps getting the targets, which he always is, isn't he? So you're looking at a floor of 10 to 15 points, which in a 2-game slate's not going to kill you either, is it?
Yeah, no, not at all. And again, like we said, it's a game that matters. You go to the guys that are the best guys on your team in the playoffs.
Interestingly enough, I think over the last few weeks, Alan Lazard has had more red zone targets than Devonte Adams. So I think Lazard is someone to keep an eye on here, especially at 10K.
Yeah, I think they're the only two you could play from this game. And being contrarian, you could play both of these guys without Aaron Rodgers, like we said. So it's been good. He has been good. He has needed touchdowns to do it, though. But like you said, they've been looking to him, which has been good. But those last 2 games, but I'd say ignore the Detroit game because that's week 18. Let's ignore that. Before that, you've got Minnesota, great game. A couple of duds in Cleveland and Baltimore.
He's clearly the two, though, and Rodgers has made it known that he loves him.
That's true.
So, look, I don't mind it. And, don't hear what we're not saying. We're not saying don't do Rodgers stacks. A Rodgers, Adams, Lazard stack could easily get you there.
For sure.
But we unfortunately just can't think everything's going to get there to win a GPP. You have to make some calls. And so potentially, looking at game scripts, this is the matchup potentially more likely to fail. I don't know. Well, but yeah, it's you just got to make your call.
Yeah, for sure. Cincinnati, let's talk about these receivers because everyone's going to be playing them. But the question in my mind, honestly, is could I play all 3? What do you? I know is that the way to get different? That you just play all the pass catches for Cincinnati? And add Uzama into the mix of that as well because he's been getting plenty of targets. Could I go Burrow and 3 of these receivers, thinking that they're just going to attack this game through the air?
Of course, you got to think that there's going to be that many yards around and that many touchdowns in the whole game. I'd probably lean not playing all 3 wide receivers and look at maybe a Chase Boyd is probably one of my more favourite double stacks.
Yep. Boyd's been solid, really.
Yeah.
For that price tag as well of 9.5K, you're happy with I'd say 4 out of the last 5. You'd be happy with that.
He's not a sexy name either, so he can easily get overlooked. I feel Uzama might just gather way too much steam at his price range, so probably not looking at the full onslaught of Cincinnati. I just don't think that these games are going to be just absolute shootouts, and so Potentially just it's about hitting the right pieces in the right games.
True. The thing is as well, though, we have to look at this and go, all you're doing is comparing one game against the other. And so as long as the Cincinnati-Tennessee game outscores the other by 10 points, say it's, one's a 35, like a 40-point game, one's a 50-point game. Well, not even that. I feel like even if it's just outscored it by 5 points, like if one was 40, one was 45, then that's enough to potentially have those pieces get different. It doesn't have to be the full
to me,
2 times the price and stuff.
It's the number of drives in this game that concerns me, that if Henry's back, it slows it down. And therefore, it's going to be hard for 3 wide receivers to, unless they're just they all get the touchdown each. And they're all 60 for and a touchdown, and then but that doesn't blow you away either.
No.
So
I think
it's a funny one.
I don't mind it because it means it's less things that you're trying to get right. If what you're predicting is that Cincinnati and Tennessee game clearly outscores the other one, then combining these guys together is you saying I only have to, like, if there's 4 positions on my slate on my team that are tied up in that, and that's almost enough sometimes, and that allows you to get a little bit different than the field elsewhere, because you're still playing other guys from the other games for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, T. Higgins unfortunate last week with a 2.
Yes.
But you can't totally write him off because of what he has done in the past. But interestingly enough, it was just Baltimore. That's all it was. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to read T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is just a target hog at the moment, so fade him at your own risk. Tennessee, it's A.J. Brown. I don't know if I want any Julio Jones. But A.J. Brown is a smash at that price. I think it's so easy for me to play A.J. Brown in these lineups.
Yeah, and this is where I potentially do see the ownership on the Tennessee side gather a little bit of steam, because, you get a cheaper Tannehill with an A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. You can do a lot elsewhere in your lineup. And, Julio Jones, he's not the old Julio Jones, but he's still Julio Jones. And he can have a big game, and, a big game in a big moment. I'm not writing him off. I just can't do it. I can see myself going Julio Jones. I know you don't like it, but at sub 10K, it's Julio. It's Julio.
Yeah. No, look, if you're going to tell me play Julio Jones or Tyler Boyd, which they're pretty much the same price, then look, the big playability of Julio Jones kind of does win out for sure. Interesting that Nick Westbrook-Ikine, he's doing enough at 7,200 to be worth a peek as well. Just a little cheap run back, I guess, if you're going Burrow stacks, or pair him up with Tannehill and hope he gets a touchdown. He did get a touchdown last week, 4 for 78 and 1. Very solid game last week. So, yeah, make of that what you will, but I think Derrick Henry probably eats into both of those opportunities for Jones and Westbrook-Ikine. San Francisco, let's talk Debo. He's running it a heck of a lot.
How do you not play Debo?
How do you not play Debo?
At 15K, I'll be playing him everywhere.
Yeah, he's so cheap. Like, that's... Yeah, like, really, he's a guy that can put up a similar number to Devonte Adams and take it away. The one thing that is missing is the receptions. Really, that's... Like, it's going down. He's rushing the ball a lot. He's their second running back. So there is that worry. Take out the touchdowns, right, from the last few games, and his scores have been poor.
Sure, but out of all the games on the screen right now, how many of them don't have a touchdown? One.
Yeah, look. One.
He's as safe as houses. Like, you're not going to get a more guaranteed... Like, if you had a gun to my head and say, who do you think will score a touchdown this week on the ground or in the air, who are you going to go? It's got to be Debo.
Yeah, and you're probably not wrong in that. You're probably not wrong in that at all. I don't know. Something just, it's the bit of the... He's going to be chalky, so I don't know. There's part of me that goes, I'll fade. But maybe that's silly.
Yep.
But
yeah, well, that's it. You can't be afraid to lose, and to win these things, you got to make those ballsy calls, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do. Just because I feel like maybe there are, other players.
Yep.
Like, I feel like when I play, if I had to choose Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, I feel like I'm picking AJ Brown, just for this price and for what he can do, as well. So anyway, that's how I'm kind of reading that.
Interesting.
Ayuk, you going to play Ayuk?
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of Ayuk. he's out of the doghouse now, and he's the one going to, he's getting targets. And
Yes.
Look, last week was just a weird game. The way obviously they won it on the ground against Dallas. Is that the way they play this game? And that's the thing we got to sort of reconcile with ourselves. And now he didn't get a touchdown, so 5 catches for 50 yards seems to. I reckon that's his floor.
Yeah.
11K. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to potentially springboard you to a number one. But if that's the floor, then that's not too bad.
Yeah, there's opportunity there, definitely. Yeah. All right, let's quickly go over the tight ends, and then we'll call this slate done. You got George Kittle at the top at less than 11,000. There's temptation there because of it's George Kittle.
Yeah.
And what he can do. What he can do is be an absolute bum for a month. So, look, isn't it just the most bizarre thing, this game log?
Well, it's an ugly tight end slate, I'll be honest, isn't it? So,
oh, yeah. It's
to me,
Kittle, Uzama, and then it's DeGuara, who you have no confidence in whatsoever. And then Ferkser and Swaim, you don't know who's going to catch the touchdown.
Caught a couple touchdowns now, a few games in a row. He's probably the one I'm probably going to just go with, just on a pure price standpoint, that if he tanks, it's not going to kill me. Kittle potentially is the leverage play because he has been so disappointing, but on a slate like this, he's still going to probably have a fair ownership just from the namesake.
I think Green Bay have to get up. Green Bay have to get up to make San Francisco throw.
Yes.
And then you're probably looking at George Kittle doing something within that. But it's
to me, Uzama is going to be the chalkiest tight end. Just we've seen him come off the back of two touchdowns, and he's $2,000 cheaper than Kittle. So to me, I'm just on an ownership standpoint going to not play Uzama. And that's where I think Ferks is the one. If he scores a touchdown, I'm golden, and I've got extra salary elsewhere.
Yeah, I like that. All right, folks, that's the Sunday slate, and I don't think we need to talk about anything else. Defense, play whoever you want.
I think it's San Fran. I'm just going the cheapest.
These guys.
I'm just going the cheapest.
Yeah, and San Francisco have been solid. The one thing you might look at is maybe the Titans, because if you're looking for interceptions and sacks, you're looking at a Bengals team that would possibly be passing it a lot. Yep. So the Titans pass rush, Titans are solid, they're really solid on their front seven. It's when you get in the secondary that they suck. So, but in a game with a thing like this, when every team can score, you're ignoring the points for, and you're just going for sacks and interceptions. So if you're looking for that, then I don't mind Tennessee in that either. So that's probably where I'm looking, Titans and 49ers for both of those. Beautiful. All right, folks, thanks for joining us. That is the Sunday slate. If you're on our YouTube channel, you keep watching, and we will jump into the Monday slate. If you're listening on our podcast, then jump over to the next episode where we'll continue to talk about the divisional weekend DFS. See you on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
All right, team, welcome back. And we are jumping straight in, really, to our Divisional Monday slate. And
obviously, if you've just clicked this one, go back one more episode, that you'll hear our other slate.
Yeah, that's it. There's important news that you need to hear on the
news.
other one
We've
as
had
well.
Enough.
So that's it. We're done. We're cooked.
I hate Rowan now. And so
that's right. And I hate you, Arch. It's reciprocated. Anyway, we're still here. We're going to talk about Divisional Round. Are you going to hit the drop this time?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah! Divisional Round preview.
Alrighty. We're talking about Monday, the Divisional Round, and we're looking at here. We got an AFC matchup and an NFC matchup, and I like this day of games better than the day before for fantasy purposes, because we've got the Rams, the Bucks, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Buffalo Bills just going at it, and this is going to be good. I'm really excited about this one. So, pull up the Draftstars website there, Arch. We're going to jump straight into this. We're going to look at the quarterbacks first at this slate. And you've got Allen and Mahomes priced up, 16.2, 15.8. This matchup, particularly, let's talk about the matchup. Buffalo, Kansas City, it's the highest over-under on the slate. I believe 50. You might have it in front of you there, Arch. I don't. 50-something, anyway.
Which one? Rams.
Buffalo,
Bucks.
Kansas City.
Oh, no, I don't have that one at the moment.
Anyway, it's high, everybody. I know that for sure.
It's coming. It's 55. 55!
Yeah, shout out to the footballers. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Arch. Can you split these two? I struggle to.
Yeah, it's hard work. I think it's built for Allen to succeed, and Mahomes is just Chiefs are rolling, and so fade this game at your peril.
Seriously, you can play either one. Both scoring north of 40 points last week. That's just huge in the playoffs. And I'm looking at this game going, you can just play all of the people from this game. The thing is,
though, 40% owned on both of these quarterbacks. Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, quite possibly.
But then the other game's got no slouches either.
No, that's the thing. You can seriously play this slate any way you want to. And yeah, you can go wild. If I'm looking at offense and defense, the defense on both Bills and the Chiefs has been really solid Bills all year, and the Chiefs have escalated throughout the season. I'm looking at this. The Bills' run defense is 11th in DVOA. The Bills' pass defense though is first in DVOA. They're the best pass defense out of the lot.
Yes.
Chiefs' run defense might be 20th in DVOA, but they are the hardest in terms of yards allowed per carry. The Chiefs' pass defense might be 23rd in DVOA, but they're third hardest in yards allowed per pass. So I don't know. There's something to be said for that. I guess in that regard, maybe you're going for the Bills because of those DVOA numbers, and Bills, of course, they are just making things happen on both the ground and the air. Devin Singletary is coming to his own. Bills' pass offense has been really solid of late. But the thing is, I guess, if you're thinking stacking, and if we're thinking of who to go with, Josh Allen, you can go with a single stack. Maybe just one pass catcher, because he's going to get there with his legs.
Exactly.
66, 63, 81, 64. They're the last four rushing yard totals for old Josh Allen. That's just stupid. He's adding 6 to 8 points just off of the rushing. And then, of course, he's passing, last week for 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, that helps get you there.
Far
I don't
out.
think he was. Is this going to be a shootout, or is the Chiefs' defense going to be able to do something?
Okay, the contrarian view of this game is to say that actually both defenses take hold and stop the other team from doing what they want. If we're looking at kind of the defenses that say Kansas City has played against, they've played Pittsburgh twice, the Chargers, Las Vegas, Denver twice. Mahomes hasn't necessarily gone against the best defenses in this league. Yeah. It's been a long time since Denver's been okay, they've been solid, but Pittsburgh have been woeful. The Chargers
do well against Denver.
Yeah, that's it. It's when I'm looking back, Green Bay was back on the 8th of November. It's been a while since they played good defenses. They played Buffalo. If we look at that last matchup back in October, Mahomes only put up 21 points through 2 picks and lost a fumble in that game. Josh Allen, when he played Kansas City way back then, put up 39.5 points. So
Long
read
time.
into that.
That's might as well be 2 years ago.
It's true. But in terms of the defenses that Josh Allen's gone against, he's gone against New England twice and just dominated them. Carolina's been good and put up 21.8 against them. Played against Tampa and put up 42 points against Tampa. So, yeah, I feel like Josh Allen's my pick here. There's only $400 difference between the two of them. I'm probably going to lean Josh Allen over Mahomes.
Yeah, it's the safety in the legs, isn't it? That sort of thinks that you can do that, and that you don't have to sell out for multiple pieces in a stack. That you can diversify, so to speak. But And
it's also
and
the
really,
turnovers.
Mahomes has just come off a monster game where he broke the slate, really, didn't he?
Yeah,
Compared
but
to
it's against Pittsburgh, so I'm not reading too much into that.
no, but it's going to inflate his ownership, is what more my point.
Sure.
And so Allen being more expensive and Mahomes having that recent flavour in people's mouths makes me think, Allen might be the better GPP play.
For sure. Now, the other two is Tom Brady down at 14K and Matthew Stafford at 13.9. Nothing splitting them either. But there's something to be said about these two in terms of what they could do. Now, they're not going to have the ceilings of the other two. But in terms of your stacking and what you might want to do with this, I don't mind these guys. But, yeah, they're going to be – their rostership is going to be real low. Real low.
That's it. And they're going to be passing. And to me, it's Tom Brady. It's not the same where earlier in the season where he had so many weapons that he was just almost, you had to play him. Now that it's a bit more condensed on a Mike Evans and Gronk, it's a little bit more of a dicey situation potentially for Brady. But Stafford, I feel, what team if you had to bet on which team had to throw passes to stay in games this weekend, it's going to be Stafford.
Yeah.
Chances are that's the team that gets behind against Tampa Bay, and he has to just chuck it. So they're definitely not going to catch up by running on Tampa Bay, are they?
No, that's you wouldn't think so. Tampa Bay's run defense obviously been superb throughout the course of this year. They're 6th in yards allowed per carry. They're 12th in DVOA in terms of their run defense. Their pass defense, 9th in terms of yards allowed per pass. I don't know. Like, there's something like we've seen though that the way that teams get over the Bucs is by through the air for sure. Yeah. So Stafford is sneaky in my mind. He is someone that has he got that rushing touchdown last week, which inflated that score. Because he didn't actually do too much throughout the air. But he's shown that he can do it. Earlier in the year, he played Tampa, had one of his best weeks for the whole year by putting up 343 yards in the air and 4 passing touchdowns. But that was a long time ago, so I don't know how much we want to read into that.
The way I read this, Rowan, is on a 2-game slate, Stafford potentially is a 10% quarterback.
That's so true.
And so that makes me think, maybe I need to be creating quite a few Stafford lineups rather than just follow the popular picks. Yeah,
that's very fair. Interesting if we go to the injury report here. I'm looking at, where is he? Tristan Wirfs. Very good offensive lineman, offensive tackle, and he has logged did not practice twice in a row this week. If Tom Brady is sitting behind the line without Tristan Wirfs, then Aaron Donald might have a really big day.
Yep.
So I think in terms of my picks, if I'm going to play, just play 10 lineups in this, I'm probably playing a lot of Josh Allen. And then I think I'm probably with you, Arch. I think Stafford's probably the guy that I'm going to go to next in that, just to get different from the field as well. Because you're right, he could be 10% owned. And it could just be Allen and Mahomes everywhere. Something busts in that. Stafford comes through, throws 4 touchdowns. Yeah, it's possible. That's how I'm probably reading this. Running backs, interesting in this because there's no one over 13,000 in terms of the running backs. Play who you want. Devin Singletary is there at 13 pretty much. Leonard Fournette is 12.1. Cam Akers is there at 11.3. Jerick McKinnon coming in at 10.3 after that massive week. Then Sonny Michel's still 10K. Keyshawn Vaughn, 9.7. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 9.5. He's coming in without an injury designation. So how are you reading this? Devin Singletary at the top is, probably deserved. But
the one piece we know about. If I look at this running, like you said, how do I get a read on this? I can't.
Yeah.
Apart from Singletary, he's going to be the man who's, the workhorse he's almost doing his, playoff Lenny impression this time of the year. So, I'm going to have a lot of Singletary. I don't care if it's chalk. I'm going to eat that one because it's the volume, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's still only, it's not a super high price as we've seen, throughout the season. But otherwise, I want to look at value, and to me, I just can't get a read. And I think it's more just we need to be dialed into news. Are we sure Cam Akers is going to get the same sort of work? The Sony Michel got the 10-yard zone, not the red zone, 10 zone carries for the Rams still, and so. Michelle's not dead. Akers just looked a little bit flash, and we all were watching Monday Night Football and got excited about him. And so I'm not really keen on paying 11.3 for Akers.
It's important. I think Cam Akers did have 2 big plays brought back because of penalties. He was. Yeah, you're right. He's not being used he wasn't being used on the goal line as much, but potentially is that the trajectory that he's going to though after a soft week, a 50-50, not 50-50, he was like 60-40 split. Are we going to see that go to 70-30 next week against Tampa? And I think as well, like Sony Michel, he's not catching the ball.
No.
If anyone's ball, it's Cam Akers.
Yeah, and if they're behind, you're right. So it's But yeah, it's then comes down to, is Leonard Fournette going to come back to a full workload, or is Gio Bernard going to take back some passing work that he stole off him? Keyshawn Vaughn is nothing to me. I'm not worried there. It's more Gio in the passing game.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows, what's going on in the Kansas City backfield.
Well, Kansas City is interesting. Jerick McKinnon just came in and took hold. He played really well. You saw Daryl Williams fumbled and wasn't seen again, but he's been dealing with a toe injury as well. He's 2 DNPs this week at practices, so I'm not expecting Daryl Williams to play at all. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, on the other hand, has had 2 full practices. So the big question there is, are we going to see CEH step back into the number 1? Well, let's face it, it's a 1A role, isn't it?
Yep.
Kansas City haven't been running a full workload for one single back for a long time. So, but the thing is, he's priced down at 9.5K. And if he gets the touchdown, then I think that pays off. But Jerick McKinnon at only $750 more they're close enough in value to be able to kind of play both of these guys. But he's had 2 great weeks.
And with CEH, it's like, are they just trying to force it to work because he was a first-round pick? And
yeah, possibly.
The offense just doesn't seem to be clicking as well when he's on the field.
I think
we're in the
playoffs
playoffs now. We can't try to force it like they've been forcing it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, sure, they might have a bit of a split workload, but surely they ride the hot hand in the playoff game.
Look, you'd think that Jerick McKinnon is going to be the guy. Look at those rushing yards, 27, 32, 37, 54 against. It's been low for CEH.
Love to see how many carries Draftstars, just quietly.
Yeah, I reckon. So anyway, CEH, hesitant on that backfield. I think for me, the clearest thing in my mind is to go Singletary and Akers. That's probably how I'll probably read this. Fournette coming back, yes, I think there's value in that. But again, if we're seeing Tampa Bay's offensive line be suboptimal, then I don't know how much I want to play of that either. Especially like Chase Edmonds and James Conner last week did not get much going. Conner had that touchdown, but that was really it for the running backs against the Rams. So I'm hesitant on that as well. So yeah, I think you play the high total game with Singletary and maybe even McKinnon, bring it back with him. But I think I don't know, Akers is my guy.
Yeah. I need to have some more thinking time on that one.
Wide receivers. Let's talk about this team by team. Let's start with the Rams. You've got Kupp, who is a bona fide gun at 17.6K. And then Beckham Beckham is cheap.
Yeah,
at 10K.
That's what I was thinking. They have not priced him up, and he's
like the opportunity is there. He's had
you have to
3
play
touchdowns. You have to.
Van Jefferson and Beckham, I think we've been thinking for weeks they're in the same sort of,
No, they've dropped him down. Van Jefferson at 8.3 is reasonable, I think.
But that's been the dilemma people have been playing when they've been looking at Rams stacks.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one, Beckham or Jefferson? Now it's Beckham, isn't it? It's OBJ. So you've got 10K is just ridiculous for the touchdown equity there. But I think this is a big game for Cup as well. I think the Tampa Bay against the slot is where they can feast.
Yeah.
I think Pepper with targets, playing from behind, potentially really.
Look at that beautiful thing. Those game logs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, Cooper Kupp, I think, will clearly be, in my mind, if I take off the filters, I think Cooper Kupp, unless Tyreek Hill is back, like, fully healthy, Cooper Kupp is easily the number one play on this slate. So, Cooper Kupp is, he'll be on so many of my lineups. I'll be trying to fit him in as best I can. But, yeah, like, if we're going to do a Stafford stack, look at Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., love that. Like, that's a great stack to start your
and if you want to
with.
go onslaught, it's chuck in your Akers or Higbee, really, on top of that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to Tampa Bay. Mike Evans just demolished the slate last week, and I had zero of him. That sucked.
No, and it's that's it. And it's interesting to see. I mean, in a way, it was too obvious, wasn't it? Like, there's no one else.
Well, I thought Eagles would be able to kind of put a bit of a clamp on him, but that was a foolish thing to think.
And I think I was reading, earlier that Ramsey has only shadowed once, I think, a player this season. And the way that Evans was used last week, I think he had 10. It was moved around. They had 10 snaps from the drop from the slot, right side as well. He's moving all over the place, and that's what you were seeing with Devonte Adams. Like, your best players, if you want the hand of their ball, you move them around. You don't let one defender have them exclusively like a Ramsey in this situation. So, Tampa want to win. Mike Evans needs to catch the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember a guy by the name of Scotty Miller?
That guy.
Look, he's not coming in with anything special, but Cyril Grayson, 2 DNPs this week.
No.
Brashad Perryman, 2 DNPs this week. Tyler Johnson is not...
He's not a thing.
He's not a thing. Look at that.
Sad.
Scotty Miller had some chemistry last year with Tom Brady.
Yep.
Look, if you need a play, if you need to fit in another big guy, Scotty Miller could be the one to bring it home for you. So, I don't know. There's something in me that says...
Well, this is a slate where there's more tight ends to choose from and at a higher price. So you're probably looking for, can I find a 6K wide receiver to slot in to make my lineup work?
Yeah, that could be a good little... I don't think he'll be owned much at all. That's for sure. So Scotty Miller, I think, solid. Buffalo. Let's get to the big game. Diggs, 15K. Been disappointing this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if you kind of play him if you're playing Allen because he's the number one.
But his ownership's really low still. Last week it was low. I think it was maybe 13%, if that. And so as you play him hoping it's leverage and hoping he hits your 20 plus. It's far from a sure thing.
It is so far from a sure thing. Cole Beasley, I think, is on the way out. They're realizing that he's not the guy to get things moving. Gabriel Davis is on the outside, and everyone who had Gabriel Davis last week's disappointed that Sanders got that touchdown.
Yeah,
instead of Gabriel Davis. I think
I'm still on Davis this week.
Huh?
I'm on Davis this week.
Yeah,
I think
he's got the big playability for sure. Get him down the line.
You compare him like a Davis or a Pringle. I feel that's an interesting dilemma.
Yes.
I think just purely on the red zone threat, it has to be Davis.
Yeah, I would say so. If we're talking about 6K wide receivers, Isaiah McKenzie is legitimately interesting now after last week. 3 receptions for 45, but they got him to rush the ball. And they were manufacturing these touches for him, and I think they're recognizing that as that athlete, that fast guy, that he can get some things happening. If we see Buffalo get
time.
Punt?
He earned his playing time through the injuries, and we can't just bench him now. We have to use him. So, I think he's worth a shot. He's worth a shot. It can provide you, I think, like that 10 points last week. I think he could easily hit that again, and that could enough to just buoy that bottom line tier of players that you might have on your roster. So, I don't mind Isaiah McKenzie. We're not ready for tight end yet.
What am I doing here? Casey. Let's talk about Casey.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, decent enough game last week, 5 for 57 and 1. He did what he needed to. But that was against Pittsburgh. He's coming up against the best pass defense that I think in the league at the moment. They're going to need him. Tyreek Hill could have a big game here. Just constant targets. I could see this game with 10+ targets for Tyreek Hill in this game. Yes, Pringle, Hardman, Robinson, they've been serviceable, but they need Tyreek Hill healthy. He's had enough time now to kind of come back from that injury. The narrative in my mind is that Tyreek Hill is going to have a big game here, and potentially people aren't going to be playing him because he's priced up as the second highest wide receiver on the slate. People are going to be going to Cooper Kupp instead. But I don't know if you could step down here and play Hill. He knows how to have a 35-point game. It's not that far removed from current times. So
look, I'm glad you said it because to me, against such a good pass defense, he's the guy that I don't care who he's playing on. He can torch him, can't he? And so, the only players I can trust on the KC side is the stars. It's Hill and Kelsey. The other guys, I feel that they just won't have the quality to really shine. You're not playing any of them with any sort of certainty. Like 11K for a Pringle, no thank you.
No, I'm passing on that one. Hardman, I think you only play, like I said last week, you only play Hardman if you're fading Hill.
Exactly.
DeMarcus Robinson, I guess, like any of them, he has every shot of getting into the end zone. 4 for 76 last week was very serviceable. But again, Pittsburgh. So, look, I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's Hill. Hardman if I don't have Hill. Pringle and Robinson, I guess you play if you're desperate and you think that this is a high total game. You need some bring back against an Allen stack. Then there's something to be said for it. But again, I don't like it.
No, look, it's almost a fourth piece of an onslaught, really.
That's pretty much it. All right, let's move on to tight ends. Big boys, Kelsey and Gronk up the top. Could you play both these guys? Yes, is the answer. What the rest of your lineup will look like will be interesting, but Kelsey, I mean, he's coming into form. Look at that last week, 28.9. Threw a touchdown. Love to see that.
It honestly killed one of my shots of winning a GPP, unfortunately. But.
Yeah, that stinks. But yeah, they were having a bowl last week. They just love him in the end zone, though, don't they?
They do.
Like Kelsey's.
He's and this time of year, you're going to go to the guys you trust, and we saw, what that meant last week.
Yeah,
Gronk as well. Who does Tom Brady trust? It's Gronk. So you're thinking that he'll be used. And like I said earlier, I think Higbee's also in a place where, if Stafford's throwing the ball, he could have a game as well.
Yeah, I think so. Again, you look at last time they played, Tampa Bay, 5 for 40 and 1. Tyler Higbee, that was pretty solid. You'd take that again. Gronk potentially will be rostered less than Kelsey, but again, he's a guy that Brady's going to go to. The target tree is pretty much Evans and Gronk for Tampa Bay.
I mean, he's probably the tight end more likely to get 2 touchdowns out of all of them, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. Although I do think that the Tampa Bay LA game has the best chance of slowing up and getting having more punts. Let's say that. Yep. Dawson Knox is here at 8.4.
Yeah,
which is and again, I don't know. I feel like he's going to be under-owned. Showed last week that he could really be utilized well. If I'm playing Allen stacks, I'm probably preferring a 2 tight end build with Knox.
Yep.
I'll probably go Allen. I love Allen, Diggs, and Knox. I think that's a great way to play the slate. Or Allen, Knox, and Gabriel Davis. I think that's also really nice.
No, I think if KC's defense is playing well and making it hard for other guys, I think Allen. I think he's starting to take what the defense is giving him a little bit more as the season's progressed, and that might just mean Knox gets a few more targets. Yeah,
definitely. Other than those 4, I don't think I want to touch any of these guys.
Well, Brait could catch a touchdown.
Yeah, maybe I have one lineup with Brait. Maybe 1 out of 10.
Yeah, move on.
Anyway, so yeah.
Let's wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah. DST, once again, it's play who you want. And I can't believe that the Bills are the cheapest, to be honest.
Yeah.
That surprises the heck out of me.
And honestly, you look at all these games, you might as well just take the salary saving. Like, is there really a 1.5K difference between Buffalo and Tampa Bay? Like, I'll take that 1.5K and spend elsewhere if I can.
Yeah, for sure. Although the Rams, if there is no Tristan Wirfs, then
sacks.
Then get the sacks. So, like we said last time, you're not looking at points against here. You're looking at interceptions and sacks and fumbles.
But Brady knows how to avoid the sacks though as well. So he'll throw it away. He knows how to move in the pocket just to avoid them and then and get so.
Whereas I honestly think Mahomes could easily throw 2 picks in this game.
Yes. Yep.
So play the Bills. Arch, it's been fun.
Did it. Divisionals.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's it. And also note, guys, we split this into 2 slates, but Draftstars do have a 2 10-up competitions, $2 to 20 and $10 to 100 that you can enter over the whole weekend. So I'll be looking into that as well. I know we looked at just kind of these 2 slates, but take some of the things and throw them together. All the pricing is exactly the same for the players. So have a look at that competition as well. I'll be throwing a few lineups there. Hopefully 10 times my cash. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think with those ones, it's probably, I don't know what you're thinking, but it's probably these games that we've just covered in this episode where the higher totals are probably the more likely ones to hit in that and fade in a bit more of the. I probably won't be interested in the Bengals-Titans game or 49ers-Packers at all in the full slate.
Yeah, I'll fade that entirely. I think in terms of my preferred plays for the whole weekend, it goes Allen, Stafford, then Burrow, or potentially Burrow over Stafford. That's probably how I read it, but clearly Allen up the top. Mahomes is, yes, but I guess I'm kind of taking that stand on fading him over Allen because they're so similarly priced. I'm probably sitting with that. Because, look, I could see myself playing Allen, Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey, and throwing Davis and Knox. Like that's I think a nice way to play that game. Anyway, Arch, it's been fun.
Absolutely, as always.
And we'll catch everyone next week as we look into the 2 conference games. Get excited! We are heading towards the Super Bowl.
It'd be nice to know in advance what Draftstars is thinking. Is it going to be a weekend slate, or are they 2 showdowns?
I'm keen for 2 showdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm keen for 3 contests. Give me 2 showdowns and a whole weekend contest as well. Let's do that.
That's probably shown a little bit too much innovation for old Draftstars. Although they did
done it this weekend.
They have done it this weekend, so who knows? And I know they listen to our show intently for advice.
That's right. All right. Great to see you, Arch.
Yeah,
everybody else, we'll catch you next week. May you have a lot of fun playing these 2 weekend slates, and we'll catch you on the flip side next time. Bye.